and thank Jimena for highlighting the work of our commission, Global Commission on Responsible Artificial Intelligence in the Military Domain, where we just recently released our report at the UN Security Council. It does emphasize, above all, as Jimena, I think, very well highlighted, that international law is at the core of what we are proposing. It is our common bond throughout all cultures, faith traditions. We have together this great cultural phenomenon of international law. So that's what it's based on. My remarks today are really speaking to the ideological change that several others of you have already addressed as the underlying requirement so that we can take the law we have seriously, so that we can once again embrace what the true substance of the Martin's Clause, and from my point of view, just as important, more important, the UN Charter's prohibition on the use of military force. So I'm speaking on what I perceive to be the ideological diversion from peace to war, and my suggestions on how we can return to really committing and using AI for recapturing our most fundamental and really ancient notions of how we live together as human beings in the created world. As Pope Leo has indicated, we are in an AI arms race, and we now know it has planet-ending potential. Action is needed now to divert this race to one of a safer path, a path that provides security and resources for the challenges of poverty and climate change. And I believe the first step to escaping the arms race mentality is really to move to a different way of thinking, away from this mentality of that we've gotten from realism. It's the mentality that's driving the unrelenting effort by major and not so major militaries to stay ahead in offensive military capacity. This so-called AI arms race involves AI research with military uses far beyond just lethal kinetic impact or weapons. And the race is leading toward programs that are beyond human control. If such programs combine with robotics, we're learning from such AI scientists as Hendricks and his co-authors in a recent paper that we are now creating new paths to mass destruction. I've been at many, many discussions of arms control and the old idea that you can keep weapons technology a secret, or that you can come up with some treaty form to prevent proliferation of weapons, that a few states that are responsible will keep hold of them, has been proven false time and again. Technology cannot be uninvented. But I think there is great promise, and that's really our theme in this conference, to think about how we can use AI for good. And there is, I believe, a way to shift AI design and data that is being used right now for offensive purposes to defensive. It starts by the imperative of replacing the old realist deterrence theory, which informs how we go about military security within most militaries. It's the source of the AI arms race mentality. We need to replace that with the moral, legal teaching on the prohibition of force. China and the United States are clearly involved in an AI arms race. They're following this old realist hypothesis that adversaries will be deterred if threatened by negative consequences that outweigh the benefits of their intended action. The threat of negative consequences, of course, has to be backed up by visibly superior military capabilities and the demonstrated political will to use those capabilities. This leads to the drive for superior military capabilities and explains the shift from policies that defend, military defense policies, to policies that promote a race to technological superiority. The need to demonstrate political will to use this technology helps explain why we've had decades of proxy wars, preemptive uses of military force, and assassination, as well as full-scale invasion. It's this deterrence theory, which has grown from realist political science theory and began in the 1930s, and today is the dominant policy behind all US military decisions. It's behind the decisions the United States took in the 1940s to try to keep nuclear weapons technology a secret. Of course, it did not keep that secret for very long. And as a result, the nuclear arms race was underway in the 1940s. American realists did not want nuclear weapons to be used again. As a proxy example, they had Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but in order to keep their theory going, keep the great expense, keep the orientation of so many members of our military and in political science departments across the country oriented toward realism, the policy of using preemptive strikes and proxy wars was born. The idea was to persuade the Soviet Union not to use its nuclear weapons. So this had to be especially connected to nuclear weapons policy. And that took on the form of mutually assured destruction, or MAD. We had to convince the Soviets that we would destroy them and us if they ever launched a first strike. All NATO countries today operate under mutually assured destruction theory. That is the theory behind what NATO does every day with the billions of dollars that they are increasingly spending for military purposes. And now, of course, AI is supercharging mutually assured destruction theory. Major military states are all putting enormous resources into competing for breakthroughs in military AI, regardless of the potential danger. The imperative is to be first, regardless of what it is. This mindset has led Hendricks and his co-authors to warn of runaway AI with the direst of consequences. Losing control of AI, they predict, can occur along two paths: when an individual deliberately unleashes a powerful system, or if an automated AI research system outruns development safeguards. Here's a concrete example: the computer systems that currently control nuclear weapons. AI is incorporated in those systems. Given current development trajectories, AI will advance beyond human control. Computer programs, not people, will then make the decision whether to launch a nuclear strike or not. The ultimate safeguard against these systems is not being first, the good guys, President Trump. It is reorientation away from realist deterrence theory and mutually assured destruction to lawful, moral, defensive policy. Develop AI that will assist states in creating shield systems that comply with the law of self-defense and deterrence by denial to counter offensive uses of military AI and preemptive deterrence. These two intellectual shifts are needed to reach positive outcomes. We need to replace the theory of deterrence with the legal regime of self-defense, and we need to reorient AI to support lawful self-defense, in which physical defense, in particular shield systems, become the dominant mode. These shifts are imperative for the reason I've just been forecasting. Pursuing deterrence through AI is leading to losing control of AI systems. We've all, I'm sure, heard Jeffrey Hinton's dire warnings, the reputed father of AI. I know Yaron and others, I'm not supposed to call him that, but he has warned, I think quite credibly, that losing control of AI systems predicts human extinction. Removing deterrence from security policy and planning and replacing it with self-defense eliminates this potential. Doing so will remove the one reason still given by governments, all NATO members, and the other nuclear weapons possessing states for justifying possession of weapons that could destroy the Earth. They're held now for one reason: to deter others from using them. Once nuclear deterrence is eliminated, the other aspects of realist deterrence theory should also be removable as well, along with the justification for proxy wars and preemptive uses of force. Resources will be freed to address the causes of conflict, poverty, and weak commitment to the rule of law. Pope Francis was right when he clearly concluded in 2017 that nuclear deterrence theory should not be regarded as, I quote, a source of peace, but as a destabilizing element in the international system that creates a false sense of security, encourages the proliferation of nuclear weapons, threatens the environment, and robs from the poor. He took the position that nuclear weapons exist only in the service of a mentality of fear that affects not only the parties in conflict, but the entire human race. And he joined those who categorically condemn the possession of nuclear weapons as morally illicit. He signed the Nuclear Ban Treaty along with 93 other states. All of these states, in contrast to NATO and its allies, these states represent almost half of the states in the world, and they all reject mutually assured deterrence. Mutually assured deterrence depends on a supposedly rational national leader credibly committing to essentially destroying the other part of the world if you get attacked. The inevitability of mistakes and malfunctions may be the single greatest reason to finally eliminate deterrence theory. Humans and machines fail. The theory of nuclear deterrence is mired in paradox, only marginally based on rationality and dependent on the perpetual successful operation of human judgment and mechanical systems that fail. The systems have failed, and we have only avoided mass destruction and human suffering beyond imagining by luck and the courage of one Soviet soldier in the Ukraine. The odds against such near misses in the future are small. With AI added to the mix, there is no telling what will happen. Many predictions are dire. AI is already undermining key features of deterrence strategy with nothing to replace it. Despite this and other objections to realism and deterrence theory, militaries are still driving for these strategic firsts. The mindset has led AI researchers to warn of runaway AI. So the standard response, and I've got 30 seconds, is all I need to finish. The standard response to AI, to these AI nightmare scenarios, is that good AI will remedy bad AI. But as we've already heard today, there is no good or bad AI. Algorithms are value neutral. There is good data and bad data used in computer programming. Much of the relevant current data is deplorable. It is oriented fundamentally to deterrence theory, and it includes manipulated interpretations of international law to fit the deterrence playbook. The remedy is data that incorporates accurate international law on self-defense for use in AI tools that can counter deterrence-based programs. States, organizations, peoples that care about the rule of law, national security, and above all, preservation of humanity in the natural world can lead the way to developing shield theory to replace deterrence theory. Thank you.
Great.